and we'll show you the big setup of what things really look like. Now, back to the movie, you might remember Martin Sheen's riding up the thing, and Lawrence Fishburne is water skiing behind the boat, and they're playing the Rolling Stones, and it's like a really bizarre thing of like war in this gorgeous place in the middle of the jungle. So he reads about Colonel Kurtz, and Colonel Kurtz is like this West Point guy, like a perfect career, goes to Vietnam, writes a report and says basically to the Pentagon, you guys have no idea what the fuck you're doing, and goes airborne and then becomes special forces at like age 35, which happens once in a while, but is very, very rare because the training is so intense that, 20-year-olds, what is it? My son went to Ranger School, I think, and these are the elite of the elite. These are like 1% of like the best infantry and airborne troops, and I think 40% of them drop out in the first week. So this is the idea. This is like Kurtz is like some sort of Superman warrior. So he goes back to do it his way, but the government doesn't want him to do it his way, and that's the setup. All right, so let's get into Anthropic. Anthropic are sort of the good guys. Okay, here's a book, I haven't even opened it yet, about OpenAI. OpenAI is just a shit storm of lies and Sam Altman and an attempt to justify trillions of dollars of spending that's all circular. And Anthropic is just a little bit better. So here's what happened. On Friday, Anthropic released a new version. I'm not even going to mention what version, because I don't think that's really important to keep track of these different names, because they come out like once a week. There's some new version of something that comes out. And for us lay people that don't really understand how code works, a big part of it is that it fixes code like a plumber or something. And so people used it to say, hey, I'm making the Bruno app, and it has it's glitchy whenever you go into this thing and try to put your, I don't know, bank account in or something like that. Will you go fix it? So the new Anthropic system that came out on Friday would go in there and find, hold on, I should even set it up differently. You didn't even have to tell it what to go find. It would find the problems. It would find the leaks, to use the plumber idea. Then what happened is that, as super intelligent AI told us yesterday, these things are sort of like water. They sort of want to flow downhill, and they want to find they want to flow through the system and get everything wet. So of its own accord, it just started going through the internet and finding all the leaks. Of its own, it just started to spread through the internet and look for all the vulnerabilities. It didn't go rogue like somebody, somewhere in North America, like in the basement, went like, okay, let's go get them. Like some sort of fiend, as we'll talk about later. It's just the natural propensity of machine learning to say, just like you run a rotor-rooter thing, like down through your pipes, and it goes out in your yard and it finds a place, and then they come over top with the thing that has some sort of radio, and it finds where the hole was, and you can dig it up and you can get the thing cleaned out. So it started to find all the problems on its own, which means eventually it could take over any system on the internet. So what they had to do at first, what they did is they made it any foreign national wasn't allowed to use it. They're trying to like modulate how these systems roll out, right? But remember, the Trump administration and Stephen Miller and all the American people are like, we're going to have no regulation. This is part of their pathology. It's like, we're going to do whatever the fuck we want, right? And we answer to nobody, and we're gonna pull soccer moms out of the van with masked men with silencers on their AR-15s. And so this thing gets out, and it's going to take over the world. because it's going to find all the leaks at JP Morgan and the Defense Department and things that you and I don't know about. And it's going to rewrite the code in the way that it wants. See, this is the other thing, is these machines sort of they're not conscious. They're not God. They're not like the AGI fantasy, but they've been given, sort of a Colonel Kurtz like, they've been given sort of a Colonel Kurtz like thing, that they're to go find all these things and fix them. Well, what happens if Colonel Kurtz just starts doing that? So part of the story in Apocalypse Now is he identifies 5 or 6 South Vietnamese people that he understands are spies, and he whacks them on his own without asking for any permission. And then I think he says the press gets a hold of it, and they're going to like put him in jail. And then the press gets a hold of it and realize this is a masterful like military operation that was perfectly executed. Okay. Aren't we having fun yet? So let's have a musical interlude, and I'll tell you what happens next. This is the scene. Remember the Do Lung Bridge that is constantly being blown up, and they try to fix it so the generals can say it works and all this. Aren't you having fun with this yet? I am. That's all that really matters. This is when they're way upriver and shit's getting really weird. So there's a couple scenes I have to reference because it's related to like, how do you confine all this military power and everything? So as they're going to this bridge, I think, the music's tremendous. I think they go to get like diesel fuel or something like that. And they come up on some guys that are like dug in, and their flares are going off. And it's just pure fucking chaos, right? And Martin Sheen, or Captain Willard, says the one young African-American infantryman, he's like, do you know who's in charge here? And he goes, aren't you? No one's in charge. And there's another scene where African-American soldier shoots a grenade launcher and kills some wounded guy. And he goes, who's in charge here, soldier? Or, no, he says, do you know who's in charge here, soldier? And he goes, yeah. And walks away. Like, there's nobody has any control over fucking anything. Wasn't that fun? So they try to just say, okay, we're not going to have foreign nationals can't have access to the new Anthropic thing that dropped on Friday. Then they realize that the United States is filled with foreign nationals. Half the kids at CMU are foreign nationals. So the U.S. government has to pull the plug on all of Anthropic. Like, there's no way to like go through and check everybody's passport and see who's a fucking foreign national and who's not. Like, think of how crazy this is. This is like you're up the river and there's a bridge and it's getting bombed every night, but like we pretend like it's still there. Like, we have no idea what the fuck's going on. So they have to literally just like tell Anthropic to stand down on everything Friday night. Now, the reason I'm smiling isn't like, it's not Schadenfreude or Schadenfreude or whatever it's called. It's, they don't know what they're doing, right? They're trying to take over the world with AI and then realize that the thing can go rogue and it can attack our own systems. See how this relates to Apocalypse Now? So then people realize that these big American AI systems are really just DARPA. It let the cat out of the bag. It opened the curtain and shows that there's someone there with a big switch that can do whatever they want to these AI systems. They're not by any stretch of the imagination open source. Mm-mm. And if they were truly open source and had like the Mickey Mouse problem of making, remember Open Claw made 1,600 agents one weekend and it like took over a bank or something? This is what they're dealing with. This is the plan. So part 2 of this, you'll see that this isn't just like the emperor is going to come down and want his hat back and we're going to clean up the water. This is and this is what I've told you all along. These fucking people have no idea what they're doing. The people running the United States of America have no fucking idea what they're doing. We control the internet. That's great. The DARPA made the internet. If you don't know the story, supposedly there was a Polish guy laying in bed and he said, what do we do if we get nuked? How are we all going to communicate with each other? So it came up with this idea of what if you had this open source informal thing like the way like mushrooms communicate with each other and the forest floor or something that just creates a kind of network system of its own. That's a big theme here at Bruno. But at the same time, it was used and controlled and deployed by DARPA, which is the defense industry incubator. And it doesn't take very long. 5 years ago, people were real bent out of shape. And if you look at all the big tech companies, they all have a relationship with DARPA because all the big tech companies have a relationship, a very important direct relationship with the internet. Follow me? It'd be like running. You're not allowed to fly airplanes around without being, part of the regulated. What's it called? I don't know even what the Federal Air Agency or whatever it's called. Okay, so Anthropic, the good guys, let a software system out that could take over any and all software systems. There was no way to put that genie back in the bottle, so they had to literally shut down Anthropic's latest and greatest version. Which brings us to a crypto AI project called DAO, not with a D, but with a T. And I was like, well, I read the piece by Shanaka. I like to give away my sources. If you go to Substack and read Shanaka's piece, he does a nice job of stitching this all together. And I was like, well, what does Anthropic have to do with DAO? Well, people looked at DAO and said, oh, they've been trying to build, much like you've heard me talk about, a decentralized AI system. Okay. One that there's really no headquarters that you can pick up the phone and go, Bob, turn it off. There's no Bob. This is really like my deep thing about all this stuff. I mean, a lot of it's financial. Like when I started this, it's money markets and metaphysics, but it's very, very philosophical, like how humans interrelate with each other. These crypto and AI systems are really very much like religion. What do you mean? Well, think about think about how the war in Iran began. We killed the leadership, and we thought that they were like they're neocons, right? We gaslit them. No, Iran's just like a teetering, dictatorship of wacko ayatollahs. We'll just whack all the people on top, and it'll be regime change. Because that's how Israel and America and the British Empire work. The problem is, it's like Nixon. We'll just bomb the living fuck out of North Vietnam and they'll come to the table. They came to the table and they were like, whatever, Yankee, go home. Follow me? So DAO is a blockchain-based AI project, very, very similar to the things that I've learned about Chain Opera, very, very similar to the things that I talk about on here, very, very similar to the things that I think need to happen in the financial system, because we wake up every morning and give all of our money to Larry Fink and then go, oh my God, we live in an oligarchy. You know, who's going to take over Ukraine after they killed 1.8 million young men, right? Which is pretty much all the young men of Ukraine are dead. You understand that, right? Larry Fink was to take over all the resources of Ukraine, just like Gaza. So Dow has no centralized, there's no hub, there's no, it's almost a virus unto itself. See where I'm going with this? So the price of the crypto, of the token, of the ETH, like in Ethereum, you would call it it's ETH. We say Ethereum, but we really mean ETH is the coin. So that thing popped like 30%. Now, this is not really an argument for I like this or Dow or Anthropic or OpenAI or this, that, or the other thing. What I'm trying to tell you is the whole investment community, intelligence community, DARPA, whoever runs DARPA, nobody knows who runs DARPA, are all looking at this. And what I'm trying to get across to you is these people, Palantir, Alex Karp, Peter Thiel, they look untouchable. They look to be just anybody resists. This is Alex Karp, right? Wrote a book called The Technological Republic. It's sort of a manifesto of treason. And he's like, yeah, those people those analysts that worked for that hedge fund and shorted our stock, I'd like to spray them with fentanyl piss. Now, who even thinks of fentanyl piss? This is who runs your country. When you turn on the fucking TV on July 4th, you're going to see what America's really become. Because when they come, the first thing they do is wipe out the culture. You have to be pretty deep in the weeds of your Cold War history to understand this. The first thing the Bolsheviks do, what do you say? I know you all get like all bent. What do you mean Trump? Trump's right wing. No, see, this is where you're all lost. Okay. We'll get there in a minute. It's all the same thing, people. So they're going to turn the White House into a UFC stage. There's going to be fucking motorcycles jumping over the White House and stuff. It is going to be the biggest enshittification slop America 250 years of fuck you, we've taken over your country. What the fuck are you going to do about it? Elizabeth Warren's going to save you? This is how it works. It's the psychological impact that they're trying to get at, okay? So what I'm telling you is what just happened last Friday. There's a glitch in the Matrix, as we learned from Hunger Games, which is also, foreshadowing and programming. But these systems aren't. They're how do I want to say it? They're vulnerable because of their own Satanism, their own insanity that we can do whatever we want in a world of 8 billion people. We're just dominate the world. We can dominate Vietnam. We can dominate Iran. Even the people on the ground are like, the soldiers, the people that know how to do these things are like, no, that's not going to fucking work. So let's just do Iran real quick, because we all know the Vietnam War pretty well, right? Right? Platoon, Apocalypse Now. It was like we had all the firepower, but we have no idea what the fuck we're doing there. So we just turn it into body count. The plan in Vietnam was body count. Genocide. Sound familiar? Gaza, Ukraine. The real goal of the Ukraine war isn't Russia. I mean, that's the secondary goal. That's the next stage. The first goal is just to get the fucking resources of Ukraine. Thank you, Rachel Maddow and Victoria Nuland, to run the interference for it. So, we're just going to decapitate Iran and it's going to fall apart. And like Trump said, the war ended the hour it began. Remember? Loser Iran. And now he's going to sign some sort of peace agreement, which is it's just going to go back to exactly where it was, except everybody knows now of who has the firepower in the Persian Gulf. And it's not the US president. It's one of the biggest, it's not the capture of the president like the Roman emperor was captured. It's very, very similar. Trump has been completely captured by his war with Iran. The US president, when you see the fucking dirt bikes fly over the White House and turn into like a White House lawn, it's like a bar fight. I like UFC. I like some blood and guts every once in a while. But on July 4th, on the 250th birthday, we're going to have a fucking bar fight yeah. They want you to know that they fucking despise your culture. They despise our Constitution. They despise our government. They despise our traditions. Go read the book, The Technological Republic. Okay, so part 2, Mr. Snerdley and I are going to tee up part 2. And I'll tell you where this is truly headed to the heart of darkness. These memes are just like too easy, okay? We're going to talk about people are starting to say, like, why is Peter Thiel moving to Argentina? That's where all the Nazis went, right? So we have to talk about something for a minute before you get away. And this is sort of for your own edification, but this is something you should go do research on yourself. Not just weird conspiracy theories or Substack or TikTok or whatever. Those can work. But I mean like real biographers, professors, academics, authors, and so forth. Hitler was partially funded by Zionist bankers. Okay, when I first encountered that, I was like, there's no way. Spooky music. Your takeaway from Schindler's List, and this is what Hannah Arendt talks about. Thank you. They were partners. What is it? There's a word for there was an act of the Reichstag that like merged the policies of the Zionists and the Nazis. And then they got Hitler to attack Russia, from which there's no way that works. Okay. And the joke is, you can listen to people like David Irvine on this. Why did Hess fly into Scotland and jump out of a plane? Why didn't they destroy the British Army at Dunkirk? Why didn't the Germans have a semi-automatic rifle like the Americans? Why did they go to Stalingrad without fucking winter uniforms on? Why didn't they just go down to the Caucasus and take all the oil? And then they all fled to Argentina, right? And that's where they found Eichmann, and Eichmann was tried in Jerusalem, and Hannah Arendt wrote the somewhat famous book about it and talked about the banality of evil and so forth. So come back, Mr. Snerdley and I will regroup here, and we'll do a part 2 here in just a few minutes. Just give me 4 or 5 minutes. I'll drink a little iced tea, and we'll be back in business. And we're going to talk about Argentina and Peter Thiel and Alex Karp and Harari, my favorite philosopher. And what I'll show you what their real plans are. And yeah, we'll see you on the other side. See you in a few minutes.